Yo, dude. How you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm I'm doing pretty good. Not bad. I'm chilling. I'm, you know, doing that daily grind, the stream.
Right on. I'm digging it. I love your coaching sessions, so I'm pretty excited.
Well, that's fucking right. You better be excited. We're doing it now. No, I'm just fucking with you, man. No, it's sick. I mean, I assume from what you just said to me in Discord, you were a Protoss. Because you're like, teach me how to build a wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me just know what race you are and I mean, yeah, you're Protoss. So let me know what league you're in, and we'll go from there.
All right, so I just hit Plat 2
Okay.
yesterday. I was trying to play a whole bunch of games to get you some most recent replays,
Okay.
and so I'm Plat 2,
What
Protoss.
what is uh what is the style that you would say you're going for lately? Are you doing like B2GM stuff, or are you kind of doing your own thing?
Yeah, so I would do B to GM all the way up to Gold 1. I was really struggling to break through into Plat. I was either getting attacked early or I would just kind of A move my army, and I'm not sure if my macro wasn't good enough or just my army comps weren't really working out that well. So recently I've been trying to have better army comps or maybe just attack a little
Okay.
early 200 supply.
Sure.
Just put some pressure on.
Yeah. Okay. So does the idea of you content like, okay, let me say it like this. I'll watch one of your replays, and I guess I can kind of give you a better judgment call of what I would see out of your macro and everything, and we'll talk about like ways to improve that beyond no matter what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But and it's hard to say because like if you're doing B to GM style, okay, that's like super anti everything else, and it's just macro, just macro, just macro. That would be totally fine. If the lesson went down that road and you wanted it to, I'd be totally fine to do that. But if you wanted to go down a road that kind of deviates more specific to what you want to do, that would also be fine with me. We could just kind of break it down. So I would say this, just to make sure we don't waste any time, and it's just like, making sure you get what you want exactly. Because again, this is your lesson. You do whatever you like, and I'll help you to do that. But if you want to do B to GM, I can just skip your replays and give you something else that we can go into otherwise and just make you go down that road. Or if you want to do something more specific to how you like to play, I can help you as much as possible. And it's not going to be like bad or anything. It's just I'll definitely kind of walk you through what makes sense for your style and how, and in my opinion, how you could improve upon it. And that would be, then we would like watch replays and talk about it and stuff like that. What sounds better to you?
Okay, yeah, I think the second option would
Okay,
be
yeah, perfect.
pretty fun. So
Okay, so all you gotta do if you're on BattleNet is I failed. I didn't play enough Zerg, so I'm not GM, so you can't find me at the GM list. You gotta join my chat if you don't mind.
okay.
Okay, so
Uh,
I can walk you through it if you don't know how to do it.
all right, let me just open up StarCraft.
Okay. And now you'll be in the vibrator group chat.
The vibrator.
Yeah, man.
I want to give a shout out to Wally though.
Yeah, yo, fuck yeah.
Wally the legend for giving out the free lesson.
Wally the Wonderful. The man who's gifting coaching like crazy. I think you're like the 6th person he's gifted coaching to. He's gifted a lot of coaching
Really?
lessons. Yeah, he's done a lot. He's been maybe even the 8th. It's been like 3 or 4 times where he's been like two people. So he's a super nice guy.
He's awesome. All right, so I'm at the main screen.
So all you gotta do is in bottom right, go to the groups tab. It's basically like you got a people icon, you got 2 people in a chat bubble. Click the 2 people in a chat bubble. It's the middle one. It takes up groups and events. In bottom left, hit find. Also, I gotta really quickly leave one of these because Jesus Christ, that guy invited me to it and I never left it. That's okay. It's gonna be my YouTube video now. Great. Sorry, don't worry about what I just said. Okay, So you hit fucking find, and then now you have a search bar in here. You should have a window in front of you that says find groups, and there's a bunch of things in front of it.
Yep.
Okay, so on top right, type in ViBE, and then and then it'll switch the list of things in front of you to now a bunch of ViBE stuff. Now you should see a group in here that has 600 members in it that says Vibes Raiders with a GM badge.
Gotcha.
Okay, double click it, and then hit join chat in top right. And then let me know what your name is in here. And are you Dawu?
Yep.
Okay, sick. Perfect. And now
Yeah, sorry, my Twitch name, my Discord
no,
name,
you know what?
name,
Everyone does this to me, so I'm not. It's not like I'm not used to it. That's why I'm always like, can you confirm who you are? Because you'll get a guy who's Brian on an email, and he's like, I just bought coaching, and then the email that or the name that came up with coaching purchase was like, fucking gecko guy, big balls or some shit. I'm like, okay, I don't know what the fuck this is.
Completely different. Right.
Yeah. I'm like, all right. All right, so I just made you leader, and then you just host up whatever replay you want to go into, and
Okay.
make me leader in the lobby before we start the game, so I can start it, and I'll have control of the timers and shit.
Just double click on the replay, right?
Just when you do replays, there should be a button on the bottom that says "Watch with others." And
yeah, it's like grayed out.
Okay, so if that's the case, that kind of sucks, and I'll tell you why. And so I'll give you options again. If a patch ever comes through in the game, which I guess the new season gave a new patch, so that sucks. But every new time a new patch comes out, it makes every old replay, no matter what, that was in a previous patch, now not watchable with others. This is it's horrible that it works like this, but it's just how it is, unfortunately. So the way we'll have to do this now, if you want to do a replay, is you will now have to send this to me. You can literally just drag and drop it. So if you titled it something, you can just like open up your Windows key and then type in if you're on Windows, and then type in like the name of the replay, and then once you find it, like right click and hit like open file location, and just drag and drop it right into the Discord window that we're talking in right now.
Yeah, I got the folder open, so I'll just do that.
So dragging and dropping in Discord just automatically sends it to me, and then I can just open it up myself. And now I'd have to do it through the stream instead of live with you and me. So we can still talk live on the call, but you'll have a 3-second delay on what you're seeing instead of like immediate, because you won't be in the game with me, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. This has always been a shitty format that Blizzard has a problem with. It makes coaching hard whenever there's a new patch. Can you not?
Did that little patch just went through today?
There's a new ladder season that started today. Yeah, like GM opened and everything. Or no, that was actually a week ago. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's a hotfix. Whenever there's hotfix, is the same thing. Like even like a little 1 megabyte hotfix is a new patch. It's any patch it does this. All right. So actually, yeah, someone just had an idea. I never thought about this, but maybe I can try sharing my screen with you in Discord. That way you can just watch it on Discord and we'll still talk, and it won't be fucked. Let me try that. I think it would work too, because I'm actually streaming. I am not actually streaming on my gaming PC. I am just playing the game, and I'm actually streaming on a different PC. So yeah, this should actually work. You should actually see a live update now of my game. So if you actually watch it through Discord now instead of the stream, you should be fine.
Okay. Yeah, I'm watching
Does
Discord.
Does it look good to you?
Yeah.
Like, okay, sick. Okay, yeah, perfect. Okay, fuck yeah. Who said that in Twitch? Yo, Nocturnal? Fuck yeah, good idea. I don't know why I never thought about that, but hell yeah, that's a super good idea. Okay, well now that, irrelevant, doesn't matter. If the patch is new, we can just do this. Okay, and maybe I'll just have people do this in the first place, because everyone always says, ViBE, how do I follow your screen? So, yeah, fuck it, that was a good idea. Okay, so this is you. We have it's a PvZ, platinum level here. So I'm going to see what you're doing.
Yeah.
And we'll go from there. Would you categorize yourself as, and either answer is fine here, I don't mind, but would you categorize yourself as more of an aggressive player or as more of like a defensive macro player? Just before we get into this.
Probably defensive macro, and try to react based on what I scout.
Okay, so the reason why I ask you that question is because there are there are ways your build should kind of lean into,
Oh,
depending on how you like to play. So, like for instance, if you said, "Oh, I like to be aggressive," I'm definitely the aggressive player, and all I saw was like, you're not like doing aggressive build-ups in your builds. You're just doing defensive build-ups, and I'm like, okay, well, you're missing this, you're missing that, you're missing this. It's making all your aggressive timings late, and we could go down that path. So now that you say you're defensive, that's totally fine. I actually think that's better for the league you're at, because aggression is just like hard to like mix in when you're not fully mastering macro. So defensive is better
I
to
can't even
learn
mess
in.
with adepts.
Yeah,
Like I try to get some adepts going on and scouting and kill some drones or whatever, and I always lose them and get like 1 kill.
yeah, and that's even that's also like a lot of times people say what you just said, where they're like, oh, I might not have been able to pay for my adepts because they didn't kill enough drones to make it worthwhile. Like they died and only killed a little bit or nothing. But the bigger thing that a lot of people in lower leagues like platinum or whatever or anything around there, gold, they don't think about it like this, and this is even bigger than what you kill. It's what you don't make because you're not multitasking production. And if you're like, oh, well, I actually didn't realize I was attacking my opponent with 2 adepts for 34 seconds because I was trying to phase around the base and I killed two drones and then they died, which didn't seem the greatest. But at the same time, I didn't build drones for or probes for 34 seconds. And
Right.
And then you're like, well, that right there is almost fucking 6 probes that you just didn't make. That's without chrono boost. Yeah, so it's a bit much. I'm glad you're doing defensive macro. Like I said, I would help you either way, but defensive macro is definitely if you want my stamp of approval, now you have it. That's definitely, you're doing the right shit. So that's good.
Ooh.
All right. So build order so far is fine. Your probe is chilling. I like it a lot. It shouldn't be scouting off the pylon. You build the gateway. Now if you want to go scout, that's great. Perfect. Now behind your base, taking your gas. Okay, good, great. So far, so good. Your build's doing great. Only thing I would ever tell you that you could improve on up to this point would be you've had 1 patch that's close. I'm sure you've heard me say this 1,000 times if you've watched my coaching lessons before, but stacking close patches is really good. And you've had 1 patch that's close that hasn't been stacked. But so far, build's great other than that 1 patch, which is a very easy fix. It's very minor.
You just take a probe and put it on that one instead of the further back ones, right?
Yeah. So if you want, I can give you a really quick explanation of it. I don't know if you've ever heard me talk about it. I've just talked about it a lot, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I think I heard you talk about it.
Okay, so the super fast version of it is you just get more efficiency off of close patches, and you have you have 4 close patches and 4 far patches at the start of the game in every base, and you have 12 workers. So there is guaranteed you're gonna have 4 of those patches have 2 probes, and 4 of those patches have 1 probe. So you could, in the time you're building your first probe and waiting to build your pylon, you could make sure all the close patches are stacked to just increase mineral efficiency. That's all it is. Because it is a little bit more efficient, because it's less time, it's less distance like running back and forth between your nexus and the mineral line. Like, and it adds up if you're talking about like the next like 8 minutes of doing this.
Okay, yeah, so it's that second one on the right then?
Yeah, so like from exactly, the top right of your patch. Yeah, you go down, down, down. It's the 3rd patch. So like it's the 2nd close patch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you click it too, like if you click the patches, it even says harvesters on it. Current harvester is 1. So that now it has 2. Now it finally got 2 just now. So you finally got 2 on it 1 minute and 10 seconds after the game started. So that could have been happening over the last probably like, let's say, full minute, because it might have taken you up to 10 seconds to make sure you have them all properly saturated on the right patches. If you get really good at it, you can do it in literally about 3 seconds. But if, let's just hypothetically say, like, you start practicing it takes you 10 seconds to get all your close patches saturated, that would have given you 60 seconds of close patch mining over far patch mining. And close patch mining is slightly more efficient by maybe, like, if you, let's just say this is, I'm not pulling these numbers out of like factual math. I'm kind of estimating what I think it's worth, but I think I'm probably pretty close to the real number. If a close patch mines 25 minerals, I would say the far patch would have mined only 20, because I honestly think roughly for every 5 rounds of mineral, you know, like trips that the probe takes on a close patch, the amount of difference of time of the far patch to the close patch is like, it's about 20% difference. So when you get to about like a 5th, you know, the 5th time turning it in, you've now lapped the probe behind you basically for like a 5th turn in. Does that make sense? from like the far patch.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I
Okay.
follow you.
Okay. So yeah, that's just why it's better. It just gives you more over time.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep. 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 Okay. So you're. I would say the way you did this, change what you're doing with that. What you just did here. I'll show you what you did. We're talking about the probe that goes to the natural. So this probe right now, you're at 19 supply. You have a probe in production. You should have this probe in the nexus spawning to go down to your natural. Because what you end up doing is you end up ripping off the mineral line. Also, right now you have 17 probes on the mineral line. You're already ripping it off as it is. Like this probe right here that I'm screen boxing. This dude is currently being told to go build your natural. And what's going to happen if you do it like this is two things that fuck you over. And this is like, we're talking like long-term effects because like it's things, the early economy is super important and you don't want to mess it up if you don't have to. So here's what's happening. You're pulling a probe off the mineral line. And what this probe should be doing instead, it shouldn't be on the mineral line either way, but what it should be doing is it should be mining gas because your gas is finishing right now. So what's going to happen is this probe is going to run down and it's going to get to your natural too early and you're not going to have enough money to build your nexus and you're going to wait and then build your nexus. So that you're essentially telling the probe to run down there to wait and then eventually do something. When if instead of waiting, it could just be mining gas. If you tell the probe that is in the nexus right here to go down to the natural to build the nexus, this probe will get there at the exact time you would get about 400 minerals. Because the way the math works is if you send at 19 supply your 19th probe in the nexus to go down to the natural, as long as you chrono boosted your nexus and you did not stop making probes, so you chrono boosted your nexus after the first pylon, like right around like your chrono boost was perfect, right around the time you took your gas, because around the time you're making your 19th probe, the chrono boost stops. All of it's been perfect up to this point. But if you send the probe out of the nexus here, this probe would be like the way the economy works is you would get enough money to build the nexus. So yeah, it's just basically when you're at 19 supply, rally to the natural, probe spawns. As soon as the probe spawns, you re-rally the nexus back to the gas. So
Okay.
yeah. Does that make sense?
I just to make it easier, I like hotkey my scouting probe is 1 and then like my building probe is 2, you know. So whenever I need to make something, I just like hit 2 really quick.
Okay, I would say
that
this.
definitely would be more efficient.
I would say this. Stop using a building probe hotkey and instead do this. First probe you build out of the nexus builds your pylon and your gateway, right? That's just what it is. After that, and then we're talking about the early game, all right? We're not talking about all game. You can do whatever you want once you're on like 3 bases or 2 bases with a lot of probes. But for now, at the very beginning of the game, first probe you builds a pylon and then it waits to build a gateway. Then, as soon as you build your gateway, you can rip a probe off the mineral line or whatever. You can just like green box. You could like green box like half your mineral line if you wanted to and say build gas. And it would only take the closest probe to do it. It wouldn't tell all of them to do it. It would just take the closest one. And then as soon as it builds it, you can green box it specifically or whatever and say right click the patch, go back. And then from that point on, probe 19 builds. So at 19, you like when you're at 19, you re-rally the nexus to the natural. So as you're at 20, it spawns because then the reason why it goes to 20 is because this probe in production actually increases your supply. So in supply increases as soon as the unit starts building. So when it says you're at 20, you'll have a probe already running down because it was probe 19. That probe then builds the nexus. It builds the core. It could come back and even build your gas if you wanted to, and even your second pylon. Or once you're at the point where you're mining gas, so once you're at 16 out of 16, stop using probes in the mineral line. Like stop altogether and start rallying your nexus onto the gases. So you do that one rally for the nexus down here, but then the rest of the time you rally down to the gas. So when this gas is full, you rally the other gas. And you could literally, every time you build a building, you could just say, hey, probe mining gas, build that building really fast, and then go right back into the gas. And the reason why this is nice to do it this way is because of this biggest reason of, like, there's 2 reasons to it. Number 1 is you're doing a mineral-focused build because you're playing defensive macro, reactionary. Whenever you play that style, the main investment of your build is always minerals. And why is that? It's because you're making pylons, you're making probes, you're making nexus. These things alone, you're making them all nonstop. Like you're like, I'm gonna take a natural, then I'm gonna take a third, then I'm gonna take a fourth. You're playing super mineral heavy build. You're not doing a build where it's like, stop building probes at 28 or 34 and like cut probes altogether. Go for gas heavily because I'm going to do a timing. And then since I'm doing a timing and I don't need to build a lot of probes, I don't need to build I don't need to build pylons as often. You know what I mean? So like builds that are really like aggressive and timing based don't need as much minerals. So it wouldn't matter as much if you ripped off the mineral line to like go into the gas faster. It would make more sense to do it then. But since again, I don't want to make this confusing. I'm just trying to make the concept clear, which is if your build is mineral focused, which it is because you're expanding and everything and you're making probes and pylons, as soon as you have an ideal saturated mineral line that is 16 out of 16, and ideally on top of that, 2 probes per patch, you never want to disrupt that. You want to let that stay because the longer you don't disrupt that, the better. Because if you, and this is the second part of what I was saying initially, if you rip off probes off the mineral line, when your build is mineral focused, you now put one of your patches to just one harvester on it. So basically 1 out of 2 harvesters available on it. And then if you go build this building and go back, there is a chance that the AI, if you're not paying attention to it, there's a chance that the AI might resaturate your mineral line back to fucking 1 harvester on it. Where it's like, ah, shit. Now I have 3 harvesters on one patch and 1 harvester on the other. Does that make sense? Like it might fuck it up with AI.
Yeah, it's usually what I do when I'm like shift, like telling it to do different tasks, and I'll click on a random mineral patch, and then it'll, like the probe will go search around for the best.
And there's no guarantee, and just for if you don't know why this happens, the reason why AI will do this is because the way the AI works with mineral patches is it has like a 2-part system. Number 1 is the probe. As soon as it touches the patch, it has a timer that initiates immediately, and it goes like this. Is there any patches not being mined yet? And if the answer is yes, that probe will automatically go to the open patch. So if you had 7 probes out of 8 patches, it would go to the 1 patch that's not being touched yet. But if the probe goes, so if you have probes like 15 out of 16 on the mineral line, and you have probes all over it, every patch is being mined at least by 1 probe, what will happen then is it will say, okay, arriving at the mineral patch, and it's like a 25% of a rule, and what that means is if your probe arrives at a patch, and as it arrives, if the probe that is already mining that patch as well is only within like the first 25% or like 30%, it's like really early into its job of mining the minerals there. So that first probe just got there and it just started mining, and it's only like 25 to 30% of the way done before it picks up minerals in its hand and then goes and turns it in. If your second probe arrives in that first 25 to 30% window, that probe will then have AI like register and go, oh, let's not mine this patch anymore. Let's go to a patch that is not in the first 25 to 30%. And then the probe has travel time. So AI gets kind of stupid here, where it goes, okay, now I'm going to go to patch number 4 over there because a probe is not in the first 25 to 30%. And if a probe arrives there, and now another probe is now in the 25 to 30%, the probe will now once again go, oh, we're in the 25 to 30. Let's go to a new patch that's not in the 25 to 30. And eventually it'll get to a patch where it'll line up, and it won't be in the first 25 to 30. It'll be in like the 50, 60, 70 range percentage. So that probe that it gets to is almost done mining, and it gets ready to have minerals in its hand and goes away from it. So that probe now arrives and starts mining. Did I explain that well? Does that make sense? That's why this AI fucks up shit like this all the time.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering that. It was kind of weird seeing them run around like that.
That's why they do that.
Okay, cool.
And that
All right,
it's
the guy from gas.
And that's why if you do it with gas, it never happens with gas. Gas is just it's 3 out of 3. That's it. There's no like your probe doesn't mine the gas and go, oh, you know what? This gas is in the first 25 to 30. Let's go mine gas number 2. Like that just doesn't happen. They just 3 out of 3 on gas and you're done because it's just one gas geyser.
Okay.
So if you build, once you have the phase where you're just your main, again, I don't give a shit what you do with your natural and you do with your third. It's totally fine because at that point, if one probe gets fucked up, it's so minor. It's so minor. But your main base is so important because it's the start of everything. It's like the build up of your whole game. So if you build with your gas, like if you want to build a pylon, because again you can see my screen right now. So if you build a pylon like right there, and you say, hey, gas probe, go build that, and then go right back into the gas. you lose like only a second or two off of gas and you're fine. Pig, what's up, man? Fuck yeah, is the coach listen? Hell yeah. Also, I'm sorry. Egg Ruffles, Mr. Dawu, can you give me like 2 seconds? I think someone's at the door and my dog is going crazy.
Yeah.
I think someone needs to get in.
No problem.
2 seconds. Okay, yeah, sorry, it was the door. My bad. Pig, yeah, let's do it, man. I'm down. Later, a little bit later for the I'm not sure what you asked me, but fuck yeah. I never say no to Pig. He's amazing. He's a beautiful man. Okay.
I was actually playing a guy the game right before this one yesterday who was doing a pig strategy.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool.
Did it fuck you up? Was it good?
No, I actually beat him. So.
No, you're that Pig. My student beat your student. No, I'm just joking. No, all right. No, okay. So, if you, and again, I just want to make sure because we didn't say this at the start of this, but if I'm ever explaining something, and even if you're like, wait, can you say that again? And if it's like, if I start going off on this tangent where you're just, if I feel like I'm making you confused the way I'm explaining it, you're more than welcome to stop me from talking and then be like, wait, say that again, or what do you mean, or ask your questions if you have any, because I want you to understand everything I'm saying. I don't want you to just be like, yeah.
I got you. I mean, I think I got the main point.
Sure.
It's more effective to pull out of gas and have your probe rally out of the nexus
like
than to disrupt the mineral.
That is exactly right. It's like if I wanted to make it just super simple and just go like brush through it really quickly, that's the right answer. I just want to make sure you understand why. So if you ever think about it, you know what efficiency even means. It's not just like I give you the answer. I want you to I'm showing the work for you as well. So that's why I'm always like super thorough here for you, because I want you to really understand. But anyways, okay. So your scout, you go forward. You're moving your probe over to expand as well. Your scout is a bit interesting. We'll talk about that in a second. But and I will say this. Long story short about your scout, I don't mind it. You're definitely gonna make the Zerg feel a bit awkward when you do shit like this if they see it with an Overlord and be like, is he cannon rushing me? Like something weird. But
yeah, I think his Overlord starts to follow my probe around.
Because what you're doing is a bit weird, honestly, with the probe. It makes the Zerg feel like cannons are a possibility. But the only thing for you, that I would say it's nice to get a scout off in the main, but you're not. It's not like, well, you need to do it right this second. And the reason why is because with the hatchery being thrown down as early as it is, you already know you're not getting 12 pulled, and that's the only thing you give a shit about right now. Because if you are gonna get 12 pulled, it's super fucking hard to hold that if you just go 1 gate expand. So, again, if I would say this, I want you to understand this. If you get to the Zerg's base and you do what you're doing with the probe right now, where you just kind of see the natural and just chill for a bit, as long as you see the natural this early, then that's fine. But if you saw nothing, if you saw nothing there and you chilled like this, I'd be like, no. You need to get the fuck in his base, now. Because if he is actually 12 pulling you and you just don't know it and he's going to run in Fog of War to your base and you're like, oh, whoops. I just made a Nexus and I started a core and suddenly my pylon's dead. Then you're going to die. Then
that's usually what my thought process is if I go into his natural and I see that he's expanding already, I'll just go back to my natural and it's the whole microing thing. I don't want to get lost in scouting his base when then I go back and I've got 500 minerals and I could have made my Nexus, a little
that's
quicker.
Okay. I'm okay with it. Like I said, as long as there's a natural, because again, you have to base it off of your timings. So just to make sure you understand why and everything's cool and gravy here, if you ever change your scout, the timing will change of this. Okay. So if you scout if you scout after Nexus, for instance, and you were to see a hatchery that looks like this, I'd be a little bit more concerned for you again, that you need to get into his base right fucking now. But because you're scouting off of the gateway, as long as you keep doing that, which I don't really feel any reason why you shouldn't, you should keep doing that for sure. As long as you keep scouting after you build the gateway in your future games, if you see a natural down in his base by the time you get there, you're fine. You're not getting pool first. Because that's an early scout, and the only way he could have a hatchery down by then is if it's hatchery first. So no pool. Early.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but yeah, I definitely would say if you are going to wait to scout, scout as soon as you take your second gas. If you're going to just like chill for a sec and you want to perfect the build order, and that'd be totally fine. So you built your Nexus, you're going to build your core. You were talking about walls, and you were talking about, I remember, well, I'll just give you a quick breakdown. I'm going to say it in a way that hopefully it makes sense. But, because I know you said like, oh, this is how I died in my games too, ViBE, why the fuck does it happen? When you make a wall against Zerg, what you're doing already is correct. And you should always build your first building, like your first gateway, against one of the walls, either top or bottom, or it doesn't matter which one. But you always build your second building, which is the core, based off of your first building. You do not build your second building against the other wall. A lot of Protosses that fuck their walls up every single time are Protosses that think it's correct to build both sides of the wall first and then try to fill in the third building last, in the middle. And don't do that. All you gotta do to never fuck your wall up ever is when you build your gateway, you build it like how you did. That's great. Good gateway. But the way you don't fuck up your core is you always build the core overlapping one grid spot on both sides of the gateway. So for instance, you have a vertical and you have a horizontal grid spot. Okay, so like I can actually do it with my mouse because you're actually watching the screen. You have a horizontal and you have a vertical overlap. So if you build right here, that is overlapping both. Because if you think about it like this, if you go vertical, it overlaps. If you go horizontal, it overlaps. So you want to put your core literally on that grid spot, on top of the gateway, and then you drag it only one direction. So if your wall goes this way, you drag it horizontally, but you're overlapping still vertically. Or sorry, yeah, you just drag it in one of the realms. Yeah. So you get what I mean.
Like down one over one.
Yeah. Like so, for instance, you only go one direction. So if you're gonna take if you have overlap here and you want to go south with your gateway, you only go down. You go vertically, and that's it. If you have a wall that needs to go this way, you only go horizontally. Like you don't drag both ways. So if your wall is horizontal, and you have the overlap of your core over part of it, you don't. So for instance, if you're gonna go down, because this is now a vertical wall, you're gonna go down. You don't also drag your gateway horizontally to the right. So the way you built this is actually great, because there is still a overlap. Where if you think about this, okay, if you have your core right here, okay, this is your core. If you have a line that we're to go directly vertical now, because again, this is a vertical wall. If it goes directly up, if it misses the gateway, your wall is bad. And it doesn't miss the gateway, it goes through the gateway. So this wall is good. If your core was to the right by one, because let's say you dragged it to a corner to corner spot, so instead of being right here, your core was right here instead. It was to the right by one, where it is now. This would be a bad wall. Because what would happen is this, again, this would have been the edge of your core then, and the core would go like
and that
this.
was what was in the other game.
It would miss the gateway. And exactly, that is exactly why when you watch me play that game, I all in the shit out of the Protoss, because that's exactly how he built his core. He built it like that, and that is a shit wall. It does not intersect with the gateway.
Okay.
Which means the surface area of your unit in the doorway is going to die. It's just going to get shit on. So now that you have overlap, what it does is it allows you to put your unit in the same spot. Your unit is always going to be in the same spot. It's going to be like almost on the corner of the gateway, essentially. But if you look at it, if the core is exposed more to the right, it means that the gateway unit has no cover in the front of it from where like this area right here. It's just open now. But now that you have a bit of a hallway that like units have to like kind of like squeeze into to hit your gateway unit, only one or maybe two lings at a time could actually smack your unit, like your zealot or your stalker or whatever. So this is a good wall, and that's how you always line up your wall. And then the way you finish it off is you just connect the core to the other side of the terrain with a gateway, and you can always stuff it in, and it will fully seal off the wall. So a gateway like right there would be perfect, or right there. Right there is a bit risky though, and the reason why that's a bit risky is because if you have to do it like that, then so be it. Then you have to do it like that because of where you built your pylon. But if your pylon allows you to build your gateway right there, that'd be better. And the reason why is because you have less surface area on your core exposed. So the more if you put your gateway there, and you have a lot of surface area on your core that's exposed on both sides now, more lings can surround it and kill it faster, and that's a little scary. So, but again, this is still a good wall. This is a perfect wall. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, but the way you placed your pylon, you could never put a gateway there. So your pylon is A little too far
So
back.
where should I put the pylon?
The
then?
pylon
Just a
should have
little-
been probably like right there.
Okay.
But again, if you put a gateway here, that's still like A plus. Okay, it's still a proper wall, because I'm gonna tell you right now, the amount of Zerg players that understand how to abuse the core like that, you're not gonna run into players like that until probably Masters League. Dead serious. Like, it's a higher level technique. So if you grow as a player, just knowing this is a thing is nice to know. But yeah, as long as it's walled and you have only one doorway like this, the doorway is the biggest part of it all. As long as your doorway is good, your wall's good. If your doorway sucks, then your wall sucks. That's just all I really got to know for that shit.
Okay.
Okay, and then now you're coming back with the probe. This is good. Okay, so always make sure you as well go gas before pylon. You did them kind of like the other way around, which is, it's not the hugest deal. I'm not gonna lie, this is kind of minor that you went backwards, because at least you built them both at the same time. But the reason why it's not as good if you go backwards is because if you go pylon after gas, you will not supply block. And that's the only reason why you ever should go pylon before gas. And so if you go pylon before gas, you'll definitely not supply block. You would have not supply block either way though. But now that your gas is after the second pylon, you're going to have probes sitting here waiting longer to mine gas than you otherwise would have. So now if you add this up, if you go, okay, well my first probe didn't mine gas because I instead sent it to go build the Nexus, and then I waited to have the other probe, and it was waiting to build the Nexus, and then now finally I was waiting on gas to then eventually mine it. Now if you're waiting on gas again with your second gas, I would already say this game, automatically, you are already behind by probably like 30 gas. And 30 gas is quite substantial for the early game. So like, if you think about like how much a stalker costs, it's 50. So you're already 30 gas behind. That's almost a stalker's worth of gas behind. Same thing with a warp gate upgrade.
Warp gate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like like your tech as well. If you have to wait an extra 30 gas, maybe your tech now, like, so once you have that point when you're like waiting to take your tech, like your robo or whatever, let's say you're at like 70 gas and you're still waiting and waiting and waiting, and then eventually you take it. That could mean your tech could be like 5 seconds behind now, or 6 seconds behind. And if you think about an all-in, what if you're getting all-in by some bullshit? And now every unit that comes out of the robo is 6 seconds behind. So it does add up. It does matter. And the build order should be pylon, gateway, gas, nexus, core, gas, pylon. That's all it is. If you can do that, you're great. And you chrono boost after your first pylon's done, once on your nexus. And then you chrono boost again on the nexus after the second pylon is done. And you also pair that second chrono boost with a gateway chrono boost.
Okay, and then yeah, that's like the end of my opening build order.
Yes.
I pretty much do this every time based on if I see a natural or not.
Yep.
If you're just switch over the Chronos and the Cyber.
If your build is to do a gateway expand, that's exactly what you do every time. This part matters a lot because it's just efficient for economy development. That's the only reason why. It doesn't change anything about like what your build's going to be in terms of like, is it going to be adepts, is it going to be charge lots, immortals? Changes nothing about that. It just changes whether or not you got 100% efficiency on your economy from the start of the game when everything is developing, or if you got 78% efficiency, or like 85% efficiency, or 92% efficiency. It's just, is it efficient or not? And this, what I just told you, is the efficient way to do it. So right now, what you've done to yourself, I would say you're already like in the 80% efficiency range, like 80 to 85, because you missed out the gas the first time and you missed out gas again the second time. But that didn't need to happen.
Okay.
Okay, now you're scouting him. Now you're doing the scout exactly when I was recommending you would do it. So this scout, you can do it every game for now if you're comfortable. That's totally fine. Now you're going to want to know, is this guy going to invest in a gas himself, and how much is he going to do? So you're going to do his base, and you see, yep, there's a gas. And here's the humongous kicker here. That's very, 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 very important. Watching his drones, like, sorry. Excuse me. Whenever you scout a guy's base, do you ever click on their gas?
No, I do not.
Okay, so that's long story short, gases start with 2250, and everything that is relevant costs 100 gas early game for a Zerg. So if you see a Zerg is going to go beyond 100 gas with 3 drones, All this means is if you click their gas, like right now, and you see, oh, he's at 2150, that's 100 gas mined. And if you never see him pull drones off that gas, that to you should tell you aggression. Like it's not guaranteed because it's like platinum, and he might have just fucked it up, and he might have just been like, okay, maybe he just forgot. It's a possibility, but you should automatically see this, and if he doesn't take drones off and go, at the very least, I should make a shield battery because this dude could possibly all in me right now. Like he could just make a roach warren or a bane nest and just go for it. It's very possible. So
does Zergs usually not take that much gas then?
Zergs normally, if a Zerg is gonna be aggressive, there's two tendencies that you can read from it. Number one, they don't stop mining gas. Number two, they don't spread creep. If they don't spread creep and don't stop mining gas, you're gonna get fucking attacked. Like that Zerg is gonna be aggressive. If they do stop mining gas and if they do spread creep, those are two signs that tells you that Zerg is probably gonna take a third base and they're probably gonna make drones because they want to protect those drones and they want to maximize their money, their mineral economy. Because just like how I said for you when I was going into that rant about like how your build develops defensively or aggressively, you should focus on minerals for defensive. Zerg is the exact same way, and so is Terran. Every race is the same way. If the Zerg is like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to build drones, overlords, queens, and hatcheries. Every one of those don't cost gas, so you shouldn't prioritize gas. So a Zergling also does not cost gas. Just speed does. So if this Zerg had the intentions of just making drones an economy and, you know, protecting that economy, then there's no reason why that Zerg should skip a creep tumor and also skip taking off gas. Like he should definitely take off gas and definitely make a creep tumor to like protect himself and make more money faster. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you see no gas stopping, like it just keeps going for the gas, you don't have to go crazy defensive here and be like, okay, Falcon, freak out, sound the alarms. All you got to do, make a shield battery. That's it. And like, maybe also don't walk out of your base. Make sure you stay behind your wall for a minute there and make a shield battery. That way, if he does decide to attack you, you're not going to just get destroyed. So you can see this Zerg, you kind of left right as he did it. But if I was playing this game, or if I was sitting next to you playing this game, and I was like coaching you live, I would tell you, wait. Go back with that probe just for a second. Just look at him for a little bit longer. Because you left right as he hit 100 gas mined. Because it was at 2150 right as you kind of left. He never even attempted to pull a drone off that gas though. So I would be like, okay, just go back and look at it for maybe like an extra like 2 or 3 seconds. Or like, again, you don't have to stare at it. I'm not telling you to stare at it. I'm just saying like maybe go back in macro for a second, but send your probe back to the gas and come back and look at it once you're done doing your next macro cycle of whatever you want to do. And if that Zerg still has not taken drones off at like now the gas is at like, let's say 2120 or 2110, which means he's mined beyond 100. Now it's like 130 or 140. That Zerg is fucking mining gas like crazy. So more gas that Zerg mines early game and never takes off, the worse the build is economically, the more likely it's going to be aggressive.
Okay, yeah, that helps because I literally know nothing about Zerg openers and how they work and anything like that. So knowing what to do with scouting information is big.
Yeah, so yeah, Zerg only needs 100 gas to play defensive macro early game and like play like an economical game. The more gas they mine, and they never stop, the more likely they're going to either all in you early or they're going to tech really hard and really fast. Like they're going to be someone who goes for like really fast mutas or something. And the way you can kind of get a read on that is if the Zerg doesn't ever stop mining gas and they don't take a third base at all and they don't attack you within the first 4 minutes, that Zerg's fucking teching. That Zerg is totally teching his ass off. But if the Zerg does attack you within the first 4 minutes, and they also don't take a third, and they never stop mining gas, that Zerg is obviously attacking you, and it's easy to read what they're doing now because they're in your base attacking you. They're smacking your wall or whatever. So that's kind of how you can read that shit, generally speaking.
Okay.
So yeah, you running away right now is you're kind of missing a little information for yourself for all the stuff we just talked about.
I think I swoop back in there eventually, but yeah. Oh no, maybe he gets there. Yeah, he gets right there.
It's okay. It's really just Whether or not he makes slings does not show you aggression right now. It could be for literally denying your scouts, or it could be to attack you. And here's another indicator, okay? Another big piece of information for you that you may not know yet, but is very, very relevant to early game defense. All you gotta do, if you scout the Zerg player, went for a expansion first, which you already scouted with the first when your probe first got there, and you were like, "Yep, there's a natural there. He has not done weird shit yet." If you know the Zerg is doing a standard opener, which just like how I told you with the build order, where I was like up to your second pylon, and then from there whatever you want to do, Zerg is the same way, where their build is like drone, overlord, 16 hatch, 18 gas, 17 pool. From there, Zerg does whatever the fuck they want. So Zerg also has a quote-unquote standard build, and if the Zerg player does a standard opening, which you confirmed that's what it is, because again it's based off the hatchery timing, what you can discern from that is you cannot be attacked by speedlings until 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So ultimately what this means is as long as you have a shield battery that is done by 3:30, you're fucking fine. You should be fine. And obviously you want to keep making units the whole time, but 3 minutes and 30 seconds is the window where if you get attacked right around then, without even scouting his base, you know what he's doing because he's attacking you between 3:30 and like 4 minutes. However, if you get to like 4 minutes and the Zerg opened up with speed and he never stopped mining gas and he still has not attacked you yet before 4 minutes, so like he is well within his means to have speed already, and now 30 seconds has gone by after him having speed and he still hasn't attacked you yet, I would say you're probably in for a game that is going to be tech based and not all in based, because it makes no sense for him to wait that long to attack you, because all that happens is if he doesn't attack you is you just get stronger defensively, because you are not sitting there making zealots and fucking stalkers. You're making like stalkers and immortals or voids or whatever the hell you're making out of your tech, because you've already taken your tech as well. So that kind of helps you read the early game a lot more to make decisions going beyond that. We'll keep going, but how do you feel about what we just talked about? Does it make sense again, or how are you feeling?
Yeah, feel good.
Okay. So I don't know what your probes are doing as well, but okay, there we go. There's a little bit of gas hiccup there. And like, see this shit right here, like how your main base is at 14 to 16. And right now, I'll look at your patches too. You have 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 0. So what's going to happen now, potentially, is this is why I don't want you to touch your mineral line at all, because like you've now, it's like great saturated, and the 2 probes that got pulled off were also perfectly saturated. Now that you've done this, there's a chance that one of these probes might touch the patch and go like this. Oh, there's an open patch. Let's go there instead. And now you might have a situation where you have patches reallocating, and you might have probes come back and go, okay, let's go back in 1 and 3 and shit like that for awkward splits. So that probe actually comes back and fixes the patch again, but now you're still at 15. And do you stay at 15? Well, I'm just going to speed this up and see how long you stay at 15 for.
Yeah, probably
Forever?
for the rest. Yeah.
Now you're at 13, 14, 13 again. So again, you did have every patch at 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 earlier. And now watch this probe. Where's it going? Now you have it. Now look at that. That probe just did the job I was talking about, with like the 25 to 30% rule. It bounced around. It found the far patch. With far patches are easier to get the three probes kind of caught up on, because again they're longer. It takes longer to take these trips, so there's a higher chance they're going to get caught up on a far patch. And now you have 3 probes on this patch forever. This patch will never stop having 3. Look at this patch.
Oh, really?
Also just, yeah, like this probe almost got caught up there too. Watch this probe. This probe is bouncing around. It's bouncing around. It's bouncing around. It just kind of fucked over that probe. Now this probe's going to get fucked over. Now a probe over here is going to get fucked over. Now it's going to get here, and it's not going to do it because that probe also just arrived. So this probe's going to bounce away. Now it's going to bounce away again. Now this probe's going to bounce away. Now this probe's going to bounce away. Now this probe finally has found a place to go, because this patch had 1. And now this probe got here as this one left. So this one will stay with 2. So you just fucked up your mineral line like crazy right there for like the last like fucking 6 seconds. This is why I say,
I never noticed it in that detail before.
Yeah, this is why I say do not rip off your mineral line. If you do this when you have like 35 probes mining minerals, or like 40 probes mining minerals, or 50 or 60 or 70 or 80, it matters less the more you have, but early game it matters a shitload. So that's why I'm telling you, just build shit with your gas. Because if you build it with your gas, you miss maybe one quick gas turn in, and like the probe goes over here, builds a building, comes back, and it misses one little turn in of gas. And it's not the end of the world because your minerals are still perfect, and your build is mineral focused. It's not gas focused. So if you lose one turn in of gas, who gives a shit? It's not going to bite you in the ass that hard. One probe needs to build something somewhere, or you could grab probes as they spawn out of the Nexus and build something before they go saturate something else. That's also fine. But if you need to build it like right now, like if you're about to be supply blocked and your like probe just started, obviously don't wait. Build something now. And if you do gas probes, it's so much less damaging to you than a mineral probe. Because again, the mineral line itself is easily gonna fuck itself up, like we just kind of watched. And now, like I said, like watch this patch. It will. I will not even. I'm not gonna. We'll come back to your build in a second, but I'm gonna have it on ×8 and look at this patch. It's gonna have 3 harvesters the whole time, and this patch is gonna have 1 harvester the whole time. And this patch, if you don't touch it again, you're gonna mine this patch out so fast, and you're gonna have a lopsided economy at like 7 minutes, or yeah, or 8 minutes or so. Now this patch is mining out because you triple stacked it super early, and again, when you triple stack it, you're not even getting 100% efficiency off of the 3rd probe. So that 3rd probe is mining inefficiently, but it is still mining more than what 2 is worth because it's getting some efficiency, which is why it's going to mine it so fast. Now that patch has disappeared, and let's look at all your other patches. Close patches all have almost 9. Like this one has 885, 885. This is 925. These are all roughly about the same, but this one has 1,115. Look at the difference there. That's fucking crazy, right? Now look at these patches: 90, 250, 55. So what this means is this patch has had 2 on it. This is standard. This is what all your patches should have looked like. This patch is standard as well, but it probably had 2 probes earlier than this one did, which is why it's a little bit lower. But this patch having 250 means that you have only had 1 probe in this patch as well for a long time. So this patch has been undersaturated for a very long time. So if all your patches should look around like I would say this one looks the most appropriate right now, around like 90-ish minerals. If you subtracted 90 off of 250, you would still not be close to saturating, like to mining this out, which is what this would represent. So like for instance, what I'm trying to say is if you took 90 off this patch and like this patch came alive again, which meant all your workers are mining efficiently because they could all mine their own patches, this would have 90. This one would still have 160. So it's still up above where it should be. And if you think about the difference there, that's like the reason why this makes sense is because that could be like 70 minerals of difference that has been inefficiently mined that you just don't have that you should have had. Does that overall make, like, that's just money you're never going to get now. And you'll eventually will get it later, but you're never going to get it by 7 minutes and 41 seconds, which is why your build now has become inefficient in terms of resources.
Right. Huh. Yeah, it's crazy detail I never noticed before. Thank you.
Yeah. That's why the best thing you can do, double stack close patches as fast as you can for just boosted economy before you have all your patches fully saturated, and then try your best to then make sure every far patch also gets 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and then never touch it again. Just fucking leave it so that all your main base patches mine out optimally. Because when you only have 16 probes as well, the last piece of this that I'll explain that makes a lot of sense is when you have 1 worker out of 16, or 1 worker out of 10, or 1 worker out of 13, or 1 worker out of 14. Just do the math on what is 1 out of 15, what is 1 out of 12. It's a fucking high percentage. It's like in the realm of like 7, 8, 9% percent of overall economy, but depending on what number you're working with here. But if you think about like what is 1 worker out of 32, much lower. We're talking about like maybe like 3% or around 3%. It's a much smaller amount of your economy, so that's why. And also when you get later on in the game, around like 4, 5 minutes, you got bigger shit to worry about than meticulously going 2 patch, 2 per 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 patch. Because now you're doing shit like you're scouting. Eventually, when you get better at the game, you're going to be harassing. You're going to be building your build as it goes, not supply blocking, throwing down your tech properly, all these other things. So if by chance your natural mineral line does not perfectly saturate, not the biggest deal, because each individual probe represents a smaller percentage of everything because you have more of them. But this develops everything. This is what develops your natural and helps develop your third and helps develop your fourth. And then by then it doesn't matter. Because you have more important shit to worry about.
Okay.
So hopefully that all makes sense.
Yep,
But it
sounds
matters.
good.
Yeah, it matters like crazy at the start of the game. And it just fucks you throughout the game if you don't make it perfect. Okay, so now going back to your build overall, talking about it again. You're going for double gate with a robo. This is fine. And now you're making a council behind it. Okay, this is a bit interesting. We'll talk about that in a minute. This might be a little too early based on what you're going to do with it. And now here's a fun fact, okay? Let's just say, oh, so you're not doing something that I think you definitely should do. When you build your first units out of the gateway, go Stalker, Sentry, Stalker, 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 Stalker. Sentry second is super important for 2 reasons. Number 1, if you get all in early, having a force field is super nice because you can actually like block the doorway. Number 2, having a Sentry is really nice because you can also have a hallucinated Phoenix scout if you don't get all in and find out what is happening for real. That would also so that hallucinated Phoenix would scout where is the third? Is it up or is it not? If it's not, where's the tech? Where is your eventual timing going to be? What's happening here? That's really important. Number 2, like the other thing is with your robo, if you don't, especially if you don't know what the fuck is going on, and you're going to go for robo right behind gateway, make one immortal first, and then make an observer, and then go back into making immortals. And the reason why is because if you don't know you're getting all in, and as you're in the middle of making an observer, suddenly 8 roaches and like 2 ravagers show up with like 40 lings, there's a good chance you're going to die. Because that is, you just wasted 21 seconds when you could have been making an immortal for that amount of time instead. And that could kill you. So,
yeah.
Because again, the thing about it is, I don't.
Thanks for teaching me how to be a better.
Thank you, Tachi or Hachi. Thank you, man. I don't want you to think that you should be making an observer as like that's what I have to scout with right now, because you have no information right now, and right now is that moment when Zerg could kill you. So, if you make a immortal first and then make an observer second, what you're really making the observer for is you're making the observer so that you can see cloaked units, and the only thing Zerg could do to you that could be cloaked related is if the Zerg rushed like lurkers, realistically, and Zerg cannot really hit you with lurkers like this fast anyways. Like it'd be really hard to do that. So having an observer is nice because it's just nice having detection in your army, but just don't make it first like right away, because if he yells you, you'll die. You'll very high chance. You increase your chances to get killed.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why I just always went like observer immortal, but I'll switch it up.
I would just say go immortal, then observer, and then back into immortal, immortal, immortal. Okay, so you're going to scout with your Phoenix. Let's see how you do this. You can do his base. You fly over. You see a layer. You check the third. I love that you check the third. That's very fucking important. That's the most important thing you can do here right now is seeing if there's a third base. And then your thing dies. So you saw a layer and you saw a third base. So right now, if you were to go, okay, this is where it falls into the realm of what I was talking about a minute ago. With your first scout of your probe, you're like, okay, he is still mining gas. And if he never stopped mining gas, you're like, okay, I might get all in. 3:30 to 4 minutes rolls around. He never attacks you. And you're like, why did he not attack me? The other answer is he's teching. And you eventually scout and you go, what are you doing? And he's got a third base, which is a sign of defense. It's more, like, it doesn't have to be defense, but if he makes drones for it, it definitely is. But making a third base automatically makes an all-in a little bit later. Because you like, think about it like this, okay? I want you to understand this concept. This is another way to read Zerg, okay? And understand Zerg, like, to its core. If a player is going to go for a super fast all-in, they're going to take, like, 21 drones, for instance. Which is, like, it would look like their main base has decent saturation and their natural has, like, 3 drones, okay? That's what it would look like. Like, barely saturated natural. And this guy can, like, he will, on average, have larva waiting to be spent because he can barely afford to spend it. If you got a player like that, to do an efficient all-in, that player is not going to take a third base. Because all that would do is make it to where, like, every time they want to make, like, 1 roach, they have, like, 8 larvae. That's fucking terrible. Like, it would weaken their all-in because it would make them have to wait longer to afford a hatchery when they can't even afford spending their larvae properly in the first place. So a player like that, who's going to all-in super fast, is going to literally not put extra weird costs in their build, and they're going to just be like, no, fuck the third. I don't need it. I can't even spend all my larvae anyways. I'm just going to make roaches and whatever and lings, and I'm going to go now. And that's it. If a player has the intention to take a third base, it usually means that they can already afford to spend all their larvae and have a little bit of excess resources out of their main and out of their natural. So conceptually, it makes sense for them to take a third base because that's going to actually be utilized larva, which means that their timing is going to be later. And the reason why their timing is going to be later is because they made more drones to have this amount of money to do this. So instead of stopping at like 21, they stop maybe at like 30 or like 32, and then they go crazy on units. Make sense for all that stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm keeping up.
Okay. And so yeah, I just want to make sure. So if the Zerg does a third base, it just generally means that if they are going to be aggressive, it's just later. So seeing the third base is really nice because it tells you, okay, things are happening later than they otherwise would have because you invested into the third. On top of that, if you saw, oh, gas is really early, you never stopped mining gas, and he never attacked you when you felt like you should have been attacked around 4 minutes or so, 3:30, 4 minutes, because that's when a Zerg should attack you if they just never stop mining gas, if their intention is to all-in you, to be efficient. If you never get attacked, the only other answer is he must be teching, and you just confirmed he's teching. So right now would be a great time for you, because you finally confirmed that that's exactly what he's doing. You should be taking your third if you're going to play defensively reaction, like reactionary defensive. Because if you just sit here on 2 bases, you are now effectively all in.
Okay.
Because if you do nothing and you let him just overpower your economy with a better economy of his own, you're just going to die. So like the fact that what you're doing right now, your choice as a response to this, like you already going for a council really fast with charge, this is already an all-in maneuver. Like you should never be taking your council this fast if you open Robo first. Like it basically, if you go for a Robo first and you're doing like the Stalker Immortal stuff, you should not be taking your council until after you take your third base. And you can't, and like you can still also, because the thing is you not only do you take your third base, you still make probes, you still make pylons, you still make immortals, you still make stalkers, and then you take your robo, or sorry, then you take your council. So realistically, your council should not even be going down until your third base has like 12 probes on the mineral line, because that's the only time you realistically could afford it. The only other way you could afford it before that is if you just are not maintaining good production out of your existing buildings. So that already is like way too early for the council. Then on top of that, you just built 4 extra gates. So now you're on 6 gateways and a robo and a council on 2 bases. You have now just put yourself in all-in territory because there is no fucking way you will ever maintain 100% uptime on production out of these buildings if you're going to take a third behind this. You'll never be able to afford that. What's going to happen if you go for a third now is your gateways will be like, you do a round of 6 units. The cooldown is ready to go again. You wait. You wait. You wait. 34 seconds later, after you're ready to build units again, then you build units again. So you have all this like downtime for no reason. And it's because you would never be able to afford 6 gate 100% uptime production with taking a third now at the same exact time. You would only ever be able to afford this many gateways and a robo with good uptime of producing units out of them if you had like 66 probes or like 70 probes actively mining. Right now you have 47. So you would need like a fully saturated third base to afford this, and you don't have that at all.
Okay, yeah, I'm only pretty much putting myself all in because playing against Zerg is my worst matchup.
Sure.
And I just freak out when I see that they're ahead of me on economy, and I'm about to probably die to mutals or lurkers or something, and kind of just want to
just to throw this out there for you too. You should never play the game. You're playing the game scared as well as what you're doing to yourself. You're like afraid of Zerg, and you should never feel afraid of Zerg because there's things that tell you about a person's build that is good or bad. And if you see a Zerg player do something that is, for instance, like he just never stops mining gas and he goes for a defensive macro. If you play efficient macro yourself, which is you do mineral focus, like you don't fuck up your mineral lines essentially, you already should feel great. You should feel like you're ahead. You should feel wonderful about that because your opponent, just because they take a third base faster than you, does not mean that they're just suddenly like miles ahead of you and it's like really hard to, to manage this. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you never stop mining gas as Zerg, and you just go up to a layer, and you go into a third base, and you just make drones, and look at his third mineral line, for instance. I'm not even looking at all vision, I'm looking at yours, right? Like, because you're looking at my screen. This mineral line looks like fucking crap. And he's got double gases going. This dude has some pretty garbage drone saturation right now. It's not good. And just to throw it out there, what a Zerg is capable of, okay? So I'm going to give you a second here. I'm not going to go too deep into this. I'm just going to throw it out there and let you know what this means. Look at his drone count. It's 56. We're at 5 minutes and 50 seconds. This drone count sucks ass for a Zerg right now. He could have so much more than this if he's going to play defensive droning. How many units does he have? He's made fucking 0 units. He has a lot of larvae sitting there as well, which is also really bad. But if a Zerg player wanted to get to 56 drones, they could get to 56 drones by probably 4 minutes and like 30 seconds. Not 550. Like a Zerg could be at 70 drones by like 525 on the clock. If they're going to be like, I'm going to make like 4 lings and just go crazy drones all game. Just drones, drones, drones. Like 5 minutes 30, 520. They could be at 70 fucking drones. If they do mineral focus, not a gas focus. But this guy's clearly doing a gas focus because he's breaking the cardinal rule of this game. Like, this is like the biggest sin you can make in StarCraft 2. If your plan is to make workers and economy, do not ever prioritize your gas before that. And he's doing exactly that. He's got like 9 fucking drones on this mineral line and 6 on the gas. That is so bad. If he put all these drones back on the mineral line, he still wouldn't even be fully saturated. So that is not what you want to do for any race. If your focus is minerals and expansions and defensive play, it's only the focus if you're gonna like all in or do something like tech rushy, essentially. And neither one of you really did that. So that's the kind of shit how you should be reading your opponent, as opposed to just the fact that they're Zerg and they have a third base. Like, third base doesn't necessarily mean good economy. That economy looks like shit because he's doing gas focused the whole game.
Okay, yeah, see, I kind of just glossed over that fact, and I'm like, all right, third base looked pretty saturated. I'm behind, like, all right,
Yeah.
time to go.
And
type
you're making the same mistake for yourself too by doing a production focus. So Protoss and Terran are a little bit different than Zerg. Zerg is all about what you build with your like larva, essentially, right? And if you're gonna make drones, that's fine. But if you make drones, it's all about how you prioritize your resources. Protoss and Terran are a bit more forgiving, where all you have to do is just fully saturate a mineral line and then immediately take your gas right after, and you're fine. That's totally going to be just fine for you. It's going to work. But Zerg, if a Zerg player ever undersaturates their mineral lines to saturate gas first, that is so fucking bad. It's like detrimental even more for Zerg, because Zerg has more things that cost minerals than Protoss and Terran do. And that more, what that more quote unquote is queens. Terran and Protoss don't have to make queens, but Zerg does. I guess Terran has to make orbital commands, which is like the same cost of what queens are, but Protoss has no queen expense. So if a Zerg is like, I'm gonna go gas crazy, and they're like, I'm gonna make everything that costs minerals, because look at this. He's got 4 queens, 15 overlords, 52 drones, 3 hatcheries. These all cost minerals. The only thing he's done that costs gas up to this point is fucking 6 roaches. And he's got 6 gases to make 6 roaches. You can make 6 roaches on 1 gas with like 1 fucking drone. If he would have just only made speed and that was it, and he left 1 drone on gas the whole game after that, he could have made 6 roaches with that. And he would be at like 80 drones right now, at 6.5 minutes almost. And then he could take all of his gases and then make as much gas units as he wants from there like crazy. So this guy definitely did a terrible investment with how he went with his resources. But one of the biggest things as well for you, I want to, so we're not going to talk about economy anymore. I feel like we kind of went through it pretty hard right there. What I want to tell you as well is, if you're afraid of Zerg, all you got to do to not be as afraid of Zerg is just understand, if you just send out hallucinated Phoenix about once at like a minute or like once every 90 seconds, you can always have a read on what the Zerg is doing at an early pace and try to match it. So if you go, oh, Zerg is taking a 3rd base, guess what? So am I. Oh, Zerg is taking a 4th base, guess what? So am I. You can do it. There's nothing stopping you. Because if the Zerg does, efficient stuff, if a Zerg is playing efficient, all you have to do to efficiently defend that is create things like this at future bases. So you have a wall at your natural. Zerg can't really bust that very well. It's really hard. If you make a wall like against the side of your third base, like where you like connect your gateways up. Have you ever seen me do that on any videos I've done?
Yeah, you make the gateway walls.
Yeah, like you don't fully wall off the base entirely like this, but you just wrap around the side of your nexus so it creates like minimal surface area for them to just hit your economy and stuff. Now suddenly you put like a battery in the middle line and you can have gateway units in here that can defend yourself really easy. Makes it really hard for Zerg to like overwhelm you. Same thing with your fourth base. You could put like a fourth here. You could put gateways like against the wall like that, connecting to the nexus. And now the only way he can engage this is in this little spot right here. And if you it's easy to defend it because it's a choke point once again, with your units in like another battery. So if you just scout, you can match a Zerg, and you're very realistic to keep up with a Zerg. Protoss is not like shit compared to Zerg. Protoss having Chrono Boost is super efficient as well. So like the fact that you're Chrono Boosting out, also here's another thing that goes into the aggressive territory. The fact that you're Chrono Boosting out your Prism and your Immortals and your Charge, this is not that great for you unless your plan was to all in. And if your plan was to all in, like the hardest thing that is it's really hard to explain this, but what I'm watching you do, from my perspective, is you're doing a macro build and you're doing it all in together the whole time. When that does not work. Like, it just makes both builds suck ass. You need to pick one or the other early on in the game. So, for instance, this third base going down at 6 minutes, that thing should have gone down around 440. And your Prism coming out of your base at 6 minutes and 22 seconds, like, it's really going to be done at like 6:32 or some shit. The Warp Prism coming out of your base at 6:32. That thing should have been spawned, again, around like 4:30, 4:40. If your plan was to do either one of these builds. So you've done both builds together, and they both are just weak versions of what they could be. Also, you're doing this with 6 gateways, and it could have, if this was going to be a genuine all-in of charge lots and shit, you could have had either 7 or 8 gates. 8 gates if it's pure zealots, 7 gates if it's gonna have like an immortal or 2 inside of it as well. So your timing for aggression is like way too late if you're going to be aggressive. If you're going to be aggressive, it needs to be premeditated, which goes into the same concept I talked about earlier in this lesson, where I was like, are you aggressive or are you defensive? You need to know what you're going to do before you even start the game. If you just go, you know what, I'm paranoid at like 3.5 minutes in the game or 4 minutes in the game, I'm just going to become aggressive now. It's going to fail every time against a good player. That's the kind of shit that'll make you stay forever platinum or like forever diamond. You'll never go above that because you need to be more assertive about your decisions to go beyond that. You're like because seriously, like your build is like 2 minutes late on aggression and it's also almost 2 minutes late on economy. But it's doing both is why that is. And you can't do both. If you're going to harass him, then you can harass him. That doesn't mean making 6 gates and a robo and a council and chrono boosting out immortals and charge before you take a third. If you do that, all that investment, that's fucking all in shit right there. The way that would be, like if you wanted to harass, a good example of how to harass instead would be, instead of going for, what's it called? Instead of going for like a council super fast, and let's say you open up Robo, what if you went Robo with 2 gates, you made units out of your gateways in your Robo, and you chrono boosted just your probes the whole time for fast economy, and you went Immortal, Observer, Immortal, Warp Prism, Immortal, 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 and all you did was you had your Prism fly in his base with 2 Immortals inside of it, because let's just say he's playing defensive as well, and you like drop 2 Immortals into his third, and you're like popping the fucking queen, and he's like, oh, I'm getting attacked, freak out, make a bunch of fucking roaches or lings or whatever, and then you load up your Prism with your Immortals, and you fly away. You just harassed him. Maybe you kill a queen, maybe you kill 4 drones, and you fly away, and that's all you did. You just go home, and you make him freak out and overreact. That's a great harass with a economy focus.
Yeah, that's another thing that I don't do against Zerg is I'm not good at harassing and kind of just letting the Zerg do whatever they want to do, which is another reason why I freak out.
It's okay. Just know you don't even have to harass. It's not even I'm not even telling you that you have to do it. I'm just saying with what you're doing here, with how you're going to attack him, that kind of shit would make more sense to attack him like that than what you're doing this game. Because what you're doing this game, the only way this would make sense is if you made your opening build, again, always the same up until like the second pylon. And then you made a really fast council first. And then made a robo second. And then as soon as you went council, then robo, you then made like 7 more gates, and you stopped making probes at like 36 probes or like 32 probes. You just stopped making probes. And the reason why is because if you're going to make like 1 immortal at a time, and like occasionally, and you're going to make just mass zealots out of like 8 gateways, what is the point of gas 2, gas 3, gas 4? Like, look at your money right now. This is like, you have 500 gas and 200 minerals. This is not the time to make mass charge lots. You know what I mean? Like, you could never fucking afford that. You would do if you went mass charge lots, you would just have like 1,000 gas eventually, and like, you'd have gateways that are like, we're ready to build zealot, but we can't afford it because we have 1,000 gas, because we did a gas focused build here as well that just went for like 4 gases. So, and like, look at your third base. You're taking gas again before the Nexus is even done at the third base. So it's just out of order, and like, it'll never work essentially. So if your build was to go, again, for like a charge lot timing with maybe like 1 immortal mixed with it, and inside the prism or 2 immortals with it, and then you unload them as you get there and just make mass charge lots and fucking go ham, that should have been something that you had the idea to go for from second number 1 in the game. Because the way your build should have deviated should have been, you could have taken 2 gases in your main base, so that you could eventually, you could take your quick council. Like, again, the whole build up until 2 pylons is the same. And then once you're there, and once you're starting to saturate your natural, you only saturate the natural until it has 10 workers, or either 10 or like 13 workers out of 16. I would say 10 would be the best. And what you do is, as soon as you get to 10 out of 16 workers on the natural, once you're at that point, you will have mined enough gas out of your main base to make 1 stalker, 1 warp gate upgrade, 1 council and a charge upgrade, 1 robo facility, and like 1 or 2 immortals. Like, because that is not a lot of gas to do all that. That's like 500 gas to do all that. And to mine 500 gas, you could be mined up to 500 gas pretty early in the game out of double gases mining from the start of the game. So the overall point I'm trying to make here is that would line up really well with like your initial prism would hit your opponent with like 2 immortals or 1 immortal, and you would have just 32 probes mining minerals the whole time. Just 32 probes. No gas being mined anymore at all. Because what's the point? If you're all in, this attack is either do or die. So if you make immortals little by little over time and you mine gas and you're like if you fail this attack, the game's over anyways, because you're all in. You might as well put as much power into it as you can to increase the chances you would kill your opponent with it. So if you wanted to go for charge immortal, doing an attack like that would make the most sense, because you would have the most zealots as fast as you could to run over your opponent. So at like 6 minutes and 32 seconds, you would have already went through a cycle of about like 35 zealots. Maybe like 40 zealots with like a prism and 2 immortals or 1 immortal, depending on however long you might gas for.
Damn. That's a big difference.
It's just like, it's efficiency, and your build right now has no efficiency, because again, it's what it is like. It's exactly what your opponent's doing. Okay, and this is the problem. This is why I made BetaGM in the first place, which is like efficiency. So if you want to take anything away from this and you want to go back to doing BetaGM exactly how I did it with the economic buildup, that would be great too. If your plan is to play defensive macro, because it looks like that's just all it is, which BetaGM is fucking perfect for that. But if your build is going to be efficient, your opponent is fucking it up too by going for an expansion drone-based build with a gas priority. It makes no sense, which is why, look at the economy right now. Your opponent has 700 gas in the bank right now, and I'm going to hit play and watch how he spends that gas. Now, both of you have no minerals. He's at 95, you're at 70. He's at over 400 gas, and you're over 600 gas. This is not appropriate for efficient play. Neither one of you is doing it. You are both playing super inefficient with how you're developing an economy, because you're both doing gas priorities. Or like, okay, so he's doing a gas priority, you're doing a unit priority with expansions. Neither one of those makes sense. And what does make sense, for just simple understanding, is, again, the way I showed you in BetaGM. So I don't have to go into that. You can watch as many of those videos if you like. That's totally fine. I think we're kind of strapped for time here. But Efficiency is important to have, and neither one of these builds has it. So, if you do this attack, it's just super late, and it could work because your opponent is also playing inefficient, but if either one of you actually played efficient, you would fucking steamroll the other one. This is the whole concept I said a lot of times where I said, everyone in lower leagues always plays inefficient, and if all you do is play efficient and do nothing else, which is if you macro and do literally nothing else, you'll win games. Because you're doing shit out of order like crazy. And now from this point on, your build is in a position where it should never work, honestly. So we'll still talk about it though, but it should literally never work. Your attack is at 7 minutes when this attack should have happened at 5 minutes. This exact same, like this supply value even, should have happened like 2 minutes ago. And the reason why it's happening so late is, again, because you have about 1,000 gas in the bank. And also, not only that, you have 1,000 gas in the bank. Think about it like this. You're going aggressive, right? You have 1,000 gas in the bank. What is going to happen with that gas? Nothing, because you just went for charge lots. Also, you have a third base that has made gas, pylon, nexus to supply what? One probe. You have 7 which are being transferred right now, but you have 1 probe mining minerals. That probe is not going to pay off this base any fucking time soon, nor will even the 7. These 7 probes will not pay off, just like pay the exact cost of what this base was. These probes mine 7 minerals a second, okay? You can do the math on this, but if at 7 minerals a second, you have to pay off the value of 750 minerals. So however long that takes to make that, that's, I think, like, what, 110 seconds? Or 108 seconds or something? I don't know. Something around there. Or no, something, yeah, it doesn't matter. Who gives a fuck? It's just something around there. And that's just to pay for what this cost. That doesn't even include now actually giving you a bank to make zealots with. What if you just didn't even do that? That would have been a full round of zealots that you wouldn't even have to have, that would have just been there, right? So,
right.
And what that would have done is it would have made this, you made this as well about a minute ago. And you could have made those zealots a minute ago, and you could have had another round of zealots now, so which you can't afford either. So that could have been like 30 supply of zealots automatically right there, because you could have had, you know, more money overall. Like, but like, again, back when it was made, and then progressing from now on, because if you start making probes again and shit, again, and like these forges, same fucking thing, same thing. These forges are doing nothing for this attack. This is 300 minerals again now. That is, it's slowing your attack down. It does nothing. So this attack is like the worst attack you could ever do. And that's why your attack is getting dwindled out here, and you're getting pushed back. And ultimately, you will lose this fight and have to go back home. And now, look at this.
Yep.
What happened during that whole fight? That fight started at, what, 650 something? It's been over a minute. And you still have the same exact number before it even started. When you were like right here walking ready to set it up, you still have the exact same probe count on this base that it said that you transferred to it since then. So that's the kind of shit where multitasking needs to be happening. It's where if you are going to attack, you just missed out on like probably the equivalent of 60, we'll say about, let's actually let's do this exactly, okay? Let's go do this exactly. Let's go to right when you stop making probes. Holy shit, that's a long time. So you have probes still being made at 440. 448. You made 1 more probe. You're making, I'll give it to you. Even though it's only 1 probe and your main's doing nothing, I'll still just go from here. It's fine. Okay, 1 more probe again. 2 probes now. Okay, how about now? At 515. Do you make any more probes from this point on? 515. Okay, you make 1 probe randomly at like 6 minutes. Okay, that's it though. 515. Okay, you make 2 probes now at like 6:25. So we're gonna write this down. 3 probes so far between 5:15 and now. And your third base, we'll come back. Oh, actually, let's do it now too, because let's just get this exactly. So 5:15. So 3 probes. We just remember the number 3. Okay, so 5:15 was main and natural. And then what's your third base? Your third base finishes at 7:11. Okay, so 7. We'll just say 7:12. Make it easy. Third base. Now check this out. Watch this shit. Well, now pause the game the second you make probes again. Because again, your plan is to fall back on a third, which is why you made it. Okay, you started making probes right now at 7 minutes and 59 seconds. So from 5:15 to 7:59, what is that? That's a minute and like 44 seconds. Or no, sorry, 2 minutes and 44 seconds on the main and natural. So 2 minutes and 44 seconds on main natural, and then we have from 7:12 to 7:59. That's 47 seconds on the third base. 47 seconds on third base. So together, that in total is, and also here's the thing too, right? Here's the crazy part about this: main and natural need to be doubled because that's time that went by for 2 fucking nexuses that weren't building. Because we're gonna do the math in terms of like how many probes a second can you get. So we can't do the math for 2 nexus for only 1 round of time. It's 2 rounds of time because it's 2 nexus. So 244 is actually 5 minutes and what, 28 seconds? I think it's 5:28. So 5:28 plus 47, that's 6 minutes and 10 seconds. So 6 fucking minutes and 10 seconds of time that went by with 3 nexus being idle since you've had them, since you took a third. And now you're going to start going back to probes again. Now, if you think about how many fucking probes can go into 6 minutes and 10 seconds for all time combined, that is 12 probes a second, or 12 seconds a probe, which is 5 probes a minute. So if we don't even chrono boost our nexus, that is 30 fucking 1 probes you just missed out on without chrono boost, essentially. 31 probes. And if you do chrono boost, talk about maybe something around the realm of like maybe 42 probes instead. That's a shitload of probes. That's like almost double your probe count if you chrono boosted it. So that's the kind of shit where you have to have a plan and you got to kind of stick to your plan. That's why I'm saying your build is like, and that's also assuming that your third base was late. Your third base was done at like 6 minutes and like 50 seconds or 7 minutes, when it should have been, or whatever it was, 7:12. When it should have been done, and like it should have been started at 4:30 ish, which means it would be done at like 5:40, not 7:12. So your third base was like a 90-second interval late. And then it's not even talking about how many probes could fit in 90 seconds. But the point overall is this is a fuckload of economy that's missing, which is why your build is falling apart. So if you want to play defensive reactionary play, I'm dead serious when I say this, just stick to the plan of beta GM hard and go from there. Another thing I can do that I can recommend to you is I'll link it to you in the Discord. And anyone else out there who's watching this on YouTube, I can let you know what it is, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, what the fuck is it? You told him, but not us. I would highly recommend you guys go watch the last coaching video I just did, which is, it is exactly, it's beta GM of Platinum level, essentially. And it is right, sorry, it'll take me like 2 seconds to get this. It is right here. I'm gonna link both the videos here, so you can literally search it right now too. It's right here. ViBE Coaching Gold Protoss Refine That Beta GM for 2021. That's the name of the fucking video right there. Type that in, you'll find the video. I'll put a link for it as well. But go watch that shit. It's exactly what I'm talking about. It breaks down, like, it's not just the concept of efficiency. This coaching lesson was literally a lot about concept. But if you watch that is literally how to execute efficiency. And here's an interesting fact. In that example, in that video, Protoss would be maxed out right now. Protoss is maxed out right now. And that's like doing it well, right? It's like, it's not like doing it like a pro gamer, because the student that I was teaching in that video literally maxed out at this time right now. At fucking 9 minutes and 40 seconds was at 200 supply. Now, granted, there have been fights and battles here that have lost units and shit like that. But you didn't, as the Protoss player, you didn't even get attacked until 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Now, in that video, at 8 minutes and 30 seconds, that Protoss player that I was coaching would, I'm going to assume it's going to be around this number, was probably around 140 supply. 130, 140 supply. So if you were at that supply, if you were doing exactly that, and it's literally beat a GM, if you were doing that in this game, and this guy shows up with 123 supply of Roach Hydra, and you have 130, 140 supply of Stalker Immortal, you're totally fucking fine. Like, you are not going to die to this. It's just, again, this is just a build that is literally all over the place, which is why at this point it's, I'm explaining why it's all over the place, but at this point it is very derailed and it is unfixable at this point. And the only way to fix it is to kind of like understand why it is derailed and rework the build entirely. And this is, I honestly, I think this is just a build spawned out of paranoia, which is like, I'm gonna die. I don't know. I'm gonna die.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is with Zerg every time. It's like, I'm not sure. Like, it's, I usually die on like Mutas or Lurker or just mass Hydras. So, yeah, it's
just know
definitely
this unit is your best friend. It's dead now. It's a sentry. I was going to find where your sentry is, but I think it died in your previous fight. That unit is like your best friend, because all you got to do is scout with it. Every like minute and a half, send a scout out and just go, what is going to kill my like, try not to die to a spore crawler every time. So think about it like this. A hallucinated phoenix is very squishy. So don't fly it directly into spore crawlers if you know spore crawlers exist. It'll die pretty fast. Try to like fly on the edges around the base. Once you like know the base exists and you're like, well, I saw the natural, where's your army? Like, fly like this way, like around here, and like fly through the middle or something. You know, like, you don't have to directly fly over every mineral line every time. Because if he has a fully saturated mineral line and it has a spore at it, that's not going to change. It's going to be there every time. So don't just keep throwing it away over and over. And if you're like, oh, he's making Hydras. Cool. He's making Hydras. Oh, he's making a Spire. And I see that. Or his Mutalisk just killed my fucking Phoenix, the hallucinated one. This gives you ideas on what you're up against before it happens, so that you can then, you know, be ready for it more likely. And a great way to deal with mutas, and Zerg specifically, Double Forge is fine against Zerg. In general, the concept of it, the way you did it in this game is a bit out of order with everything we talked about. But concept of Double Forge against Protoss is fine. But I would say against Zerg is fine. But you should be going for shields instead of armor. So weapons and shields instead of weapons and armor. And the reason why is because Zealots against Zerg are unrealistic to overwhelm them with, because they have lurkers and they have banelings. If you run a bunch of Zealots with armor, or without, either with or without armor, into a bunch of Banes or Lurkers, you're going to fucking lose all your Zealots in 2 seconds. Either way. They're going to die. So if instead you went for, like, you can still make them, that's fine. But if you have shield upgrades instead, and let's say your opponent's going Mutas, and you're like, oh shit, Mutas, let's start switching gears and maybe make more Archons, or maybe make more Blink Stalkers, or whatever. Suddenly you can deal with those with your units well, that's fine. But your buildings and your workers are also going to last a lot longer, because they're not going to die. Like, your shield batteries also last longer because they don't have to heal shields as fast. The shields are stronger, which means they take less damage, which means shield battery has to heal less, which means it lasts longer to heal shit. And it more likely will keep shit alive. It makes cannons better against mutas, and so on and so on. So like, cannon battery would be super good against muta if you have shield upgrades.
Okay, so is shields preferred like only against Zerg?
Only against Zerg, yes. Against Protoss and Terran, you should go for armor. And again, if seriously, I'm being honest. I'm gonna link you the video in Discord right now. I really want you to watch it. If you want to like improve your. Alright, what the fuck? I didn't copy paste it. Oh my god. 1 second. I'll get it to you again. Take me like 2 seconds and. Oh my god, I have so many coaching lessons. There we go. Okay, so I just linked it to you. Watch that. And that talks about a lot of shit like, you know, I go over so much info there too. But it will help a lot at making you... Doing what... I honestly... I'm kind of glad we talked about theory here. Because it's different. And it's something that I feel like helps you also understand the game better. And anyone else out there who watched this, if you watch both lessons, not only will you understand how to do something, but you'll understand why the fuck you're doing it, essentially. So I really like that we talked about theory this lesson and like why you do what you do and how to make it, what means a good economy and not just mine minerals, but it's like why the fuck do you do it? Like what are the intricacies of why it matters? So that's super important. I'm glad we talked about it. And yeah, I would seriously say that for you, Dewoo. That's like your homework I would give you. Watch that shit, and you'll be like, okay, yeah, this feels fucking solid. Because again, your build, it's just the concept of the build needs to be one thing or the other. It cannot be both at the same time.
Right. Okay. Yeah, most definitely. I'll check it out. Thank you.
Hey man, no worries. But we'll wrap it up here in a second. But I would ask you things we did talk about. Or anything that maybe like maybe an idea that sparked in your mind where you like maybe me saying something made you think of something. Do you have any final questions or anything you're not sure about that you want me to elaborate on really quick?
No, I mean it's just you pretty much confirmed. You know, I need to keep working on the macro and be more efficient with my build before I start worrying about a little more intricate things in the game.
Yeah.
So
And just know that every time you freak out, all you're doing is you're making the problem 10 times worse. So like you freaked out this game and you went for some awkward build. Your build converted into awkwardness, which converted into a weird timing, and all it resulted you was going back into a macro game where again you were like 40 plus probes behind where you should have been, and you did nothing with your attack because it was awkwardly executed because it was like half macro, half micro.
Get some damage done, and didn't get any done.
Yeah. And it just puts yourself like 4 minutes behind for where you should have been if you just macroed in the first place. Mm-hmm. So and that applies to every race, by the way. I see people do this kind of shit on every race. Again, your opponent this game did it too. He did a build that was awkward because he went gas heavy while expanding to 4 bases. Look at his mineral lines. He's got 13. He's got fucking 8. He's got 11, and he's got 3. That is a garbage ass economy. That is terrible. If either one of you played efficient, you would have fucking crushed the other one, no problem. Because you both, again, the way what his build looks like, where it's like, wow, this economy looks really bad. He's got 4 bases at almost 8.5, like basically 8.5 minutes, 4 bases with what is this? 21, 32, 34 workers at 8.5 minutes. 34 workers mining. That's 2 base economy essentially for mineral lines. That's two workers over 2 mineral lines, because 32 is 2 bases. So that's like you could get 2 base economy at like 3 minutes in the game. We're talking 8.5 minutes. So like both of you, again, like I said, both of you kind of fucked up your builds here because I think you both play paranoid. You're both like, oh god, this guy's probably like, I could die to a charge lot all in. I could get cannon rushed. I don't even know. Carriers. And you're like, fucking Zerg. Zerg's evil. It could do anything. So if like either one of you just play, efficient, you'd be fine.
Okay.
All right, man. Well, dude. I really hope it helps. Again, I linked you the video. Go check it out for sure. And I'll also link you this VOD again. So if you ever want to like rehash it and like hear about it again and be like, because I'm telling you right now, if you watch this again, like maybe a few days from now or a week or a month from now, I guarantee there's going to be shit I talked about that you're going to be like, okay, I kind of forgot that I even said that. And now that's enlightening and I didn't think about it that way. And now I know that too. Because I know it is a lot. So I highly recommend coming back to this occasionally and just having it like a podcast, just like listen to it, hear what I talk about. Shit might make more sense to you and it might open your eyes on how to play StarCraft more. But definitely go watch the video I linked to as well.
Will do.
And yeah, dude, good luck. Thanks for doing it. Shout out to Wally for the lesson. And, bro, I'll see you on stream. And, fuck yeah, good luck, dude.
All right. Thanks, ViBE. I appreciate it. And thank you for going over on time and to explain everything with me.
No worries, man. It's all good. I appreciate you.
All right.
Take it easy, dude. All right, guys. That has been a coaching lesson with our boy, Egg Ruffles, DeWoo, whatever you want to call him. Our boy, Mr. Man. But thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Go check out more videos if you guys liked it. Like I said, I will link in the description of this video. I will specifically link the one I just told him to go watch. So if you're a Protoss player and this is the first time you've discovered the stream and you were too lazy to type in the name of the video that I showed you about 10 minutes ago and you're like, ViBE, I only click links. I don't fucking type, okay? Don't worry. I got a link for you as well. Down below, click that shit and you'll have the link to the how to just play efficient. Not only why do you play efficient. And yeah, go check it out. So thanks for watching. Good luck, guys. I'll see you around, and peace. See ya.